Well, a very good afternoon. Oh, well, I don't think it is a good afternoon, no matter where you are. Certainly, it's not a good afternoon in New Zealand, and it's not a good afternoon looking at the satellite picture in Fiji. But anyway, it's cheerful here. Patricia and David, Gulf Harbour Radio, ZMH 286, with you again on what could be quite an exciting week. Despite the weather, I know a lot of people are looking at departure windows from New Zealand. I'm not sure what you're doing in Fiji if you're there with this mucky weather at the moment, but certainly there are a lot of people interested in the weather here in New Zealand. Boy, it's looking pretty stormy out there at the moment. Nobody has, of course, left today. There is about 30 to 45 knots, not too far from Opua, and 50 knots even a bit further on. So there'll be a lot of people looking to hope that the seas calm themselves. At the moment, we didn't get above 15 degrees. It is now 14 degrees, and I thought it was not too bad. We have a southeasterly wind blowing, so I took myself off for a walk with a neighbour, and we forgot that up on the ridge at Shakespeare Park, it's blowing, and it was a very cold 14 degrees with about a 10 to 15 knot southeasterly wind. The bar is 1013.7, and needless to say, it's 100% cloud cover. Well, what I'm going to do tonight is probably because of the interest in the weather and being out there in the ocean, I think we'll pass it to David first, and then we'll pick up anybody who wants to call in after that.
Okay, well, we have our new gizmo set up here. Patricia's done a lot of work on this thing. It looks like Star Wars. This thing, God, it's almost scary. Anyway, looking at the Southwest Pacific synoptic picture for today, we can see on satellite imagery a tremendous amount of clouds, squalls, and rain from New Zealand northward and east all the way over to French Polynesia. It goes west a bit too, so a lot of squalls about, a lot of troughs. Not very pleasant looking, that's for sure. The main feature is a subtropical depression that's centered near 30 south and the dateline. A secondary low is formed 32 south and just southeast of this one, the first one. Now, a cold front runs from 32 south on the dateline southwest to the mid-Tasman, while another frontal band runs north from the very first low to an arc. It arcs over to Vanuatu, and a secondary but very active trough runs from this low to Fiji. Those of you that are in Fiji will know this. And for Fiji waters, expect north to northwesterly winds, 15 to 20, with poor visibility and heavy rain, showers, thunderstorms, the complete drill. It's got a little bit of everything. The further outlook, according to Fiji Met, calls for a shift northeast to southerly winds, 15 to 20, with moderate to rough seas. In short, plenty of convective activity to keep the decks washed, that's for sure. Now, this week is going to be active with yachts preparing to head north to Fiji and even New Caledonia. The weather models are getting a workout, that's for sure. We've heard from yachts planning to depart from now right up through the 27th and even after the 27th. The 27th seemingly to be the Fiji rally kickoff, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's when they've decided that that's a good date to go. And I think they picked that about a year ago. Boy, talk about models being accurate. Amazing, huh? Which is a bad joke, I think. Looking at the various models, particularly the sea state models, I am seeing 4.5 to 5 meter seas north of New Zealand. I'll say that again, 4.5 to 5 meter seas north of New Zealand. And that'll be by Wednesday, the 22nd, I think Wednesday is. Very dangerous conditions out there. So any attempts to head north at that time should be given a real good think. Those going to Newcal may look at Thursday, the 23rd. The seas do come down, according to the modeling, to about 3 meters, with winds basically easterly quadrant in the 15-knot range, plus or minus on that. However, you may see cloud and a chance of shower and squalls from New Zealand upwards to 30 south. Now, by the 29th, winds rumline to Noumea look fairly decent, east to east northeast. Now, these winds will have backed due to a depression just west of Newcal, so pay attention to that. A depression looks like it will form just to the west of Newcal on that date. Now, the low may be centered near about 25 and 160 east, so that's the center of the low. On the 29th, winds approaching New Caledonia could be northerly with rain and squalls. This is actually a slight gamble for that route, so you may want to think twice again for trying to make that one on those dates. Now, for those of you on the way to Fiji, the swells are certainly going to play a role. Personally, I believe that that means Camellia, Patricia, and myself, wouldn't leave until about the 27th, but that's us. We're old, conservative, and also we don't give advice to other yachts. We just say it as we look at it. So, as this week progresses, I would say a very good study of the models are in order, and even they are not agreeing very well out only a few days. We were looking at Minerva Reef on Sunday, the 26th, and EC has got winds that are basically easterly quadrant, and GFS, as an example, have got winds out of a southerly quadrant. So that's not very many days away. And even the models, the really good models, and those two are the good ones, they're not agreeing with each other. So it pays to study and look at your satellite imagery for sure. And as the week goes on, we'll certainly be keeping a look at how developments are occurring, and we'll report to you. We'll be on every night again and talk about the run to maybe Newcal and the run up to Fiji. So that's basically all I have got. The only thing I can say is be very cautious on this one. Sometimes you look at just the wind models and it doesn't look bad, and you forget to look at the sea conditions, and oftentimes they're not good. So anyhow, pay attention to detail, I suppose. That's it for me. Here's Trish.
Well, hopefully David's voice came out well with this new microphone as well, but I'm not sure how it's going to cope with boats coming from the speaker behind me. We'll find out shortly. In fact, we'll find out now. Is there anybody wanting to check in? Please call now.
This is Paul.
Well, a very good evening, Paul. We were wondering whether you guys have braved the weather conditions to head to Falanga. Haven't actually had time to check where you are today. Where are you, and what is the weather like? Over.
Yeah, we're at Palmer Island. We've been getting quite a few squalls. We have taken two in the past. We're not complaining of the rain because we don't have a water maker, so at least that's helping, but no fish, no fish yet, and yeah, we're hoping that hopefully we don't get a northerly because we're on the northerly side of, we're on the north side of Coral Island, over.
Yeah, roger that. David will just have a look. I don't think there was any northwestern what's happening, but he'll have a look now. I'm glad you have called in, because I'm hoping that once these boats depart, and I know there are some on Wednesday this week who probably will be well stocked up with seasick pills and the need for kiwi fruit, but there will be others later, and so I'm hoping that if you are on, you will be able to do a relay when they are quite close.
What's
to
Paul's lat long?
Oh yes, David wants the lat long for. Oh, it's not very far away from Sabi. Hang on a minute, I will ask. What is your latitude? Have you got a rough position there, Paul? Over.
Yeah, roger that. Stand by.
Winds change depending upon where it's at.
Yeah, it was more calm earlier in there, wasn't it?
The longitude too.
It's Kaya. You could look up the map that's here. Where are we?
Is it on AIS?
I could look at this up, yes.
Yeah, roger that. So our position is 17 degrees and 14 minutes south, 179 degrees, 22 minutes east.
Yeah, thank you for that. As he said, I should have looked it up on the AIS and make you turn things on. So 17 and 179 east. Still stand by.
Yeah, okay, Paul. I'm looking at the various models now, and I do see northwest tomorrow. Not very strong. They don't seem to be very strong. Take a look at Wednesday and see what the story is there. Now we are going to get a considerable shift. You're looking at almost southerlies on Wednesday, and they do pick up. They'll be 10 to 15 on the average or a mean. Higher in squalls. I do see a lot of squall activity in your area. So there you go. Hope you can handle that direction, south, southeast, and squalls. Over.
Yeah, roger that. As long as we don't get a northerly, we should be fine. We'll stay here for 2 days, so we have guests on board. And then we'll go back to Harbour, and then we're planning a departure to Malanga.
Yeah, Roger. The only northwesterlies we see are basically going into tomorrow morning. Hang on a minute here. This computer's doing funny things. Hang on. Yeah, they turn south, Paul. They turn south about lunchtime on Tuesday, tomorrow. And again, a lot of squall activity. So when that happens, the winds could come from any direction, as particularly if you have thunderstorms. You can get a 180-degree wind shift in these thunderstorms. So you just have to watch out, is all I can say. Over.
Yeah, roger that. Yeah, I'll definitely stay on the top radio for any relays that need to be done, and try to talk to you about tomorrow. Thanks for the weather update.
Okay, and yeah, just I've got another couple of comments, but is there anybody else? We're clear with Somerset. Anybody else wanting to say hello? No, nothing heard, and I've just been hearing from a couple of boats on streaming that sounds. Oh, and David is very clear too. Oh, that's excellent news. So we've got this set up a little bit differently than I tried it the other day, so it seems to be working well. So thank you for the couple of people that did send in an email, and particularly Max to comment on the not very clear streaming, which people were listening to. Not directly, but after we had finished. And just, I've seen as Paul is so good with the microphone, he's now passed his microphone good usage certificate. So, Paul, now when you check on people that are too close for me to hear well, you can give me a report on what their radio is like. There are two things when you are reporting a radio signal. First of all, there's the clarity, and then there's the strength of the signal. So one could be good and one could be bad. For example, you can get a very, very light signal, but it's perfectly clear. The scale for the clarity, which is the first one you get, is a scale of 1 to 5. So somebody who is very easily understood gets a clarity of 5, and someone who you miss the odd word or two would be 4, and then it gradually gets worse and worse until you really can't, you know that they're there, but you can't understand them at a 1. And the strength of the signal, as you will all know, you have different power settings on your radio, and if you are talking to us, it would be really good if you could use high power, because you're not going to be talking for very long, so it's not going to use up too much voltage. But anyway, the power scale is a 1 to 9 scale, and it's actually a logarithmic scale, but we won't worry about that. And there's all sorts of complications, but if it's good, nice and clear and strong, it would be obviously a strength 9. And if it's getting right the way down that you have to have the volume turned up high, but you can still hear them, it sort of gradually goes further down from that. So if you hear someone's got a 5 and 9 signal, it means they're perfectly clearly understood and it's good and strong. So that's always an easier way of saying that, well, you know, otherwise you would say, well, I can sort of hear you, but I'm missing a bit and it's not very strong and blah, blah, blah. Just give them a scale of readability between 1 and 5 and a strength between 1 and 9. And we do appreciate relays, everybody, because it's when they're close to us, we just operate on 8 megs unless people are coming in from the French Polynesia area, in which case we go to 12. But if we're just on the radio in the evening like we are now, we just use 8, and we know that we're going to struggle with people that are quite close to us. So it's always very, very good if people will do a relay. So there you go. Is there anybody else wanting any question? David will be back tomorrow talking about these 2 possible windows on Wednesday and on the 27th. But if there's anybody wanting anything further now, please call. No, nothing heard, and we've had a few emails from people that are going to be going. But don't forget, when you do email us, if you could please put your boat name in the subject line, because it just means that when we're looking for information, maybe at a later date, it's easy to find you if we've got you the boat name in the subject line. So there you go. We'll leave you all to the weather you've got. And I know it's cold in Marsden, but I tell you what, it's pretty cold here too. So, yep, time to rug up, put the heaters on, and get ready to roll. Cheers, everybody. The frequency's yours if you need it. Gulf Harbour Radio is clear. Ellie and Max are on, and so is Pele and Ulla.
They're going to have to think about what they're going to do.
Yeah.